What is going on, everybody, and welcome back to Gamer Credits. This is going to be season 2, level 8. Let's introduce the players. Player 1, BP.
And the place to be. What up, Kid Dream?
And what place is that exactly, my good sir?
Right in the comfort of my home.
Okay. I like it. Acceptable answer.
There you go.
Then, of course, player number 2, Captain Starchild.
Why does your enthusiasm just get lower when you announce me? There's like no excitement in it at all. But it's all good.
Hey, there's plenty of excitement in my voice.
Nope, nope. But no, I'm just joking. How's everybody doing? Good to be here.
It's good to have you, sir. It's good to have you.
Thank you.
Always, man.
Thank you.
And of course, for player number 3, it's your boy, Kid Dream.
See, I saw what you just did there. All right.
That was kind of savage, man. Yeah. That was kind of messed up. What a way to make him feel welcome, man.
Nah, I'm just playing with I'm just playing. All right. So, fellas, before we jump into these topics, gaming moment of the week? Question mark.
You want to start off, Star?
I can. I played Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. I think it's called what? What's the game title?
Shredder's Revenge.
Turtles Revenge. There we go.
No, Shredder's Revenge.
What? I said Turtles Revenge. It should be Turtles Revenge.
Jeez, isn't that
hey, listen.
Like, are they supposed to be peaceful? Like, yeah, not peaceful, but like, the right way?
No, they're definitely not peaceful, man. They got weapons. I don't know. I played it.
They do get pretty violent.
Yeah, I played it. I love it. I just feel like I tried to explain this in a way where it made sense to my friends. I wish they made it where the graphics had two filters. One it looks like it's 8-bit, but another one looks current day. So I can enjoy the game in this looks. I don't need it to look 8-bit, but it still works. So it's a cool looking game. It's a fun playing game, and you can have up to 6 people. I think
Yep.
it's 6. Yeah. So yeah,
Yep.
to me, they don't make too many games like that when you can just have all your friends on. So that's a plus.
Yeah. You know your friends are gonna get on you about that, right?
I know.
About the different versions, but yeah, man. Because like me and you were in there. Did you find that all too chaotic, or was everything just pretty cool? Like,
oh no, I mean, it's like for me, I can keep track of who I am because it says P1 to P2, P3. It's like if it was 6 people, I think it was only 4 at the time.
Yeah, we just had 4 at the time, I believe.
Yeah, if it was 6, it might have felt a little chaotic to keep track of everybody. But
did you say his name?
Oh yeah, you did.
Wait, what happened now?
Didn't you just say his name?
Yeah,
I did.
It sounded like it. I couldn't tell. It was really softly.
Oh man, I might have to go back and do a rewind, man. Okay.
It's all cool.
Hey, man,
I mean, they all know who we are now. So,
but now this is BP's revenge now.
Yeah,
there you go.
Our child, they know who we are. Oh, golly.
So, yeah, that one was for me and Kid, man. All those times.
Wow. You know what? It's all good.
It's always within like the first 5 minutes too. I don't know what it is.
Hey, we're still getting warmed up, man. We're still just trying to get our minds straight, from the chaotic or sometimes hectic days we have. So,
the earthquake days. Yeah.
Oh man, yeah. Earthquakes is crazy, man.
Yeah,
I don't know what's going on, man. Almost like we're in California right now, right?
But are we? I mean, the Earth is kind of like switching poles? So I think we would be considered maybe the West Coast at some point. The same.
Yeah. I don't know, man. I mean, as long as maybe we're lucky enough to do that and not fall into the ocean. Who knows?
Yeah, that's a good point. Wait, Kid, you didn't hear about the pole shifts?
Oh God, it sounds like some crazy conspiracy theory.
Yeah, moving on. What's the gaming topics?
Dang, don't even want to hear nobody else's gaming moment of the week.
I was just joking. I was just saying, you just called called my topic conspiracy theory. So
Is it not?
No, it's actually science based. They are actually saying that the poles will shift again. It's done it in the past multiple times.
So what does that mean exactly?
It means that we can be changing temperatures where, what used to be the tropics can become iced over, and, global warming, it's a lot of things. So you're going to have a lot of volcano, activity,
So it's gonna
earthquakes.
get cold here where we live.
It's very possible, but I don't know if it's going to happen in a couple of years after the shift or happen instantly. It's going to be new for us if it happens in our lifetime.
Let's hope
Hmm.
it doesn't happen. How about that? That sounds scary.
It does. Yeah. But yeah,
Yeah, you
that was my gaming moment. So I just don't want to take away from the topic we were discussing. I do that
I
from
think you
time to time. I'm sorry.
I about to say I think you scare a kid out of his gaming moment. I don't know if he remembers no more.
I remember.
All right.
Okay.
So we are ready to hear
Uh,
your gaming moment, man.
uh,
Or who you referring to there?
Well, I mean, I was saying you because you were getting upset that I kind of went past your gaming moment talking about my conspiracy. So just
I'm
no,
used to it,
yeah,
man.
no,
Y'all keep
no.
skipping over me.
yeah, go ahead, kid.
Go ahead,
Let us,
kid.
yeah, let us hear it, man.
So, guys, I pulled the trigger last night.
Uh-oh.
uh, uh, uh,
This
on
should be
what?
good.
I bought a new graphics card.
Oh,
Oh, wait a minute. I thought you already did that.
Nah. You introduced me to them being much, much cheaper than they used to be.
Oh,
So I've
gotcha.
been keeping my eye on it, and
Mhm.
finally, I've always wanted a 3070 because it's a substantial upgrade for me, but wouldn't be too much to break the bank, but would still be a pretty good upgrade, because I didn't really want to go down to the 3060, and I'm not trying to buy a 3080 or 3090. That's too much money.
yeah.
So
Mhm.
What are you
3070,
upgrading from? What's your current card?
a
Mhm. Put
1050 Ti.
put that
Oh,
man on
okay.
blast.
Which
Oh
is
no, man. No
it's
one's
old.
judging. I'm just saying this.
I don't know,
This.
man.
So
You
you
know,
about to experience some great graphic fidelity upgrades. Nice.
yes, because the 3070 retail goes for 500, and Newegg actually has one for 600, which is 100 more than retail, which isn't as bad. But
Mhm.
the one particular one that I got was also having a promo code going on for $50 off.
Oh,
Okay.
sweet. Nice, man.
So picked it up for 550. So really only $50 more than retail, which to me felt a lot better than, how it
Yeah.
used to be back in the day.
Would that
Yeah.
handle the taxes?
Let's just say it got it back up to $600 with the tax and everything.
So,
Hmm.
okay. So I assume you test drove it and all that, and
Oh, no, I ordered it last night. It won't be here till next week.
oh, okay,
Ah,
okay. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, I got
My
it
bad.
from
I'm still in that frame of mind. Like, I thought you had did it already, like, when we last talked, because we talked about that, like, what, a few weeks ago, right?
oh, you told me this. I feel like a month or so ago, and I've
Yeah.
had the tab open in my browser for ever since, and just periodically was going through. And originally I was going to get a 3060 because they had one. I think it was like 550 or something like that, 400
Right.
something. So it was a little bit more than what the 3060 goes for retail, but still not too crazy. But I ended
Mhm.
up holding off and ended up finding this 3070 for a really good price. And I discovered last night why it's one still in stock and two not extremely overpriced, and that's because it actually has LHR, which was light hash rate or low hash rate. I can't remember which one. Long story short, basically they prevent you, or it goes against crypto mining.
oh,
Oh,
so
got
they
it.
don't want that because they can't use it for other things. Okay.
Yeah, exactly. That's the reason why you couldn't buy a graphics card the past few years. And if you
Right.
did buy one, you were paying well over retail, is because everybody was buying it to mine cryptocurrency. So
Gotcha. Gotcha. Well, yeah, I mean, look, I'm really happy, man, because I know you've been wanting that for, I mean, new graphics card for like,
yeah,
I mean, how
ever
long
since
now?
they came out, which was like what 2 years ago at this point or something,
Yeah. So,
the 30
so I know.
series.
Yeah.
So I'm
But
pumped.
no,
Pumped.
oh, yeah, that's good, man. That's good. And I look forward to hearing all the, the improvements and, you experiencing Halo Infinite the way it
Oh
was meant to be
yeah,
experienced. Yeah. It's going to be great.
absolutely, absolutely. MVP.
So, The gaming moment. I'm going to stick with Returnal. I actually went into it, I think, a couple days ago with the intent of trying to finish it off, just so I can kind of jump into some other games in PlayStation Plus Extra. And I thought I did it, man. I thought I got to a point where I'll finish it off because I got to a section. I can't really describe it. There's like this big, gigantic monster that you've had to fight, where it ended up like shifting to a phase where you had all these platforms, break off, and you had to kind of like make sure you stayed on the platforms that were staying still in the air while attacking a big monster, and then all these other things that he was throwing at you, all these projectiles. And I thought I was doing something, man. I thought I finished them off without much problem. Then the game kind of ran like the credits, like kid, you remember with Borderlands 3 where you had that little fake ending, thinking
Uh-huh.
that yeah, it was kind of like that where it just kind of ran real long, and I was like, all right, cool, I get to see what all is going on. Let me finally get to the reason of why everything's happening the way it is. And then next thing I know, I end up right back on the planet. It's like, wait, what? So apparently I had to keep fighting and going on, and I'm like, oh man. So kind of a love-hate relationship I got with it now, because I was like, man, that was really disappointing. I wanted to be done with it.
They were trying to be like M. Night Shyamalan, with the twist, but the
Yeah, a
twist
little
wasn't.
bit.
Yeah, it wasn't a good twist. No.
Yeah, a little bit, but just a little fake out. A little fake out. I fell for it, so I guess I should have known
Hey,
it
you
wasn't
got
gonna
more
be that short.
gameplay.
Yeah, that is true. That is true. But that's why it leads to the love-hate, because there are times it's going well and times not so well, not so much.
Is it a
Gotcha,
stressful
gotcha.
gameplay?
It depends. It
Huh.
depends because the structures change, every time you die. So sometimes I found in certain runs it, goes pretty well until you get to like a main boss or mini boss or whatever, and then they just completely demolish you. Then
Mm.
there's other times where you start off the gate getting just pummeled. So it's like you never really know what to expect.
Okay.
So,
Yeah, it's definitely
but
a hard game.
oh yeah, it's just as much as I try to get comfortable with the idea of me know what I'm doing, I always end up getting killed. Like beyond what I expected. So
Okay, okay, all right. Well,
yeah,
hopefully, maybe next time you'll have finished it.
hope so, man. Hope so. I'm still working on it, but we'll see. I've died like 4 or 5 times now, so it's a little bit of a tough time for me.
Well, hey, maybe we can jump in this weekend. You can help me get to that point because I haven't played it since that very first time.
Hey, man, I can try. From what I hear, it doesn't get any easier with co-op. So so we'll see how that goes.
Yeah, I can't believe that.
Yeah.
Okay, so I think we're ready to kind of dive on into these topics. What do y'all think?
Oh yeah,
I'm
man.
I'm
Ready.
ready.
Yeah, let's do it.
All right, so the first kind of topic we wanted to talk about today is mainly video game mascots.
All right.
Where are they? How do we
Hmm.
feel about them? Is it is it needed anymore? Does it hurt them? Them being the video game companies, does it help them? Mascots? Question mark.
No.
Would you?
Uh,
All right,
That's
there
it,
you
man.
go.
Well, we can wrap up early, right? Yep. That's
Pack
all.
it up. All right, next topic. So anyway, yeah.
Well, I mean, you know, I'm gonna echo Star. Just kind of give a little bit more info input to it. I don't think it's needed anymore just because of how the gaming company has really evolved, and how they encompass so many different types of IPs now. Like I can think back, to when Mario did have that kind of significance of tie-in to Nintendo, and even PlayStation's, I think, failed attempt at establishing a mascot in Crash Bandicoot. And I say failed attempt, maybe that's being harsh, but I just don't feel like it had nowhere near the effect that Mario had, for example, with Nintendo. But like back then, I just think it was kind of a really, I don't know if, and that's the thing, even back then, I don't know if it was really a necessity or if it was just something that people just got accustomed to. They got accustomed to needing something to associate the company to, beyond just a logo. So, maybe it made a little more sense to have that back then. But nowadays, no. I mean, there's just too many things going on. Um, too many innovative practices happening. Like for example, Nintendo. They have like, of course, the Switch, and they had the Wii and the Wii U, for what that was worth. And people were just more drawn into what the system can do, and just the aspects of the innovation that they presented. And it was just really not about Mario. Now, I know you have your diehard Mario, and Legend of Zelda fans who really kind of still hold those characters at heart. So maybe they still would feel like there was some need for the mascotting, but I think at this point in time, it's not really necessary. I think it actually is more of a hindrance, honestly.
Yeah.
A hindrance. How is it more of a hindrance?
So because you get certain people, like I mentioned, that are still like, and let me kind of back up. So, like, for example, you had that what was it called, the Nintendo Direct partner presentation or something like that.
Let's go
I
with
think that's
that.
what it was called.
Yeah.
Yeah. Hey man, I thought you would have known, Star. You're the Nintendo guy. You got to help me here.
Hey man, if you
Oh,
ask me these
man.
questions in the morning, I may have had some answers.
Okay, fair enough. But no, so I know, like, with that, I know there were some talks where people were kind of disappointed that there wasn't going to be any announcements of the latest developments of Mario games or uh, the new
Splatoon.
Zelda game coming out. Like you said, Splatoon and was it Metroid, I think.
Mm-hmm.
So there was people, I think, from what I heard, that were upset about it. And I think that's where the hindrance would come into play, is that, and while it's understandable they have that love for those games and they just want, just to hear anything about it, it's just that it's almost like it's kind of like pushing other people to believe that that's all Nintendo's worth. Like, like for me, for example, I've gotten off of Mario for a minute now. Like, I don't really get hyped about anything Mario related that's releasing, right?
Yeah,
Just me. I know there's plenty
Mario
of people who love
Odyssey
Mario.
is amazing. So
Yeah.
should go back to that game and just
Well,
play
see, I
that.
played that. That's what I'm saying. I played it
Yeah.
because my son has it, and he plays it every once in a while, but he doesn't really get as into it like like I would have back with the NES when the Super Mario Brothers first came out. But the point I'm making is, I just, even with me playing it, and it's okay, it's fine, but it's not something that makes me be like, oh man, yeah, this is great. This is just brings me back to my love of Mario. You know what I mean? Like, I just kind of been off that for a while. Again, just me, but that's why I just kind of feel like it. I don't know. I say hindrance. Maybe it's not. Maybe that's too harsh of a word. But I was just kind of thinking it just kind of. I think it limits people perception of what Nintendo could really put out, all these different new titles and new innovations that they're working on, if they don't somehow produce something Mario or Zelda related or something. You know what I mean? It's like people spend more time being upset about that than just looking at what all Nintendo has up its sleeve outside of that.
Yeah, it
Okay.
can disappoint people when, they're expecting Mario or Zelda and then they get something, anything else.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know. That's just what I kind of
Yeah,
thought. But
I mostly pretty much agree with you. I don't really think the overall mascot is needed for the publishers anymore and developers and everything. And I don't know about you guys or anybody else, but I know for me, maybe back in the day, yeah, you could see Mario and associate that with Nintendo, Sonic with Sega and all that good stuff. For me, when I think about each of these the big three, PlayStation, Xbox, and Nintendo, when I think of PlayStation, I think of amazing first party studio or games, Spider-Man, God of War, Horizon, they just have exclusive after exclusive that knocks it out the park.
mhm.
Um, and then when I think of Xbox, I think of Game Pass. I think of the amazing pro consumer, choices and moves that they make. Um, that's the first thing that kind of comes to mind for them. And then when I think of Nintendo, kind of like what you mentioned earlier, BP, the different and innovative consoles, the Switch, the Wii U, the 3DS. It's like every new system they put out is doing some new crazy thing that actually works and it's actually pretty cool. So, I
Mhm.
don't think the mascot is needed anymore. It's just more about what they have to offer rather than that single character or franchise.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So
I agree.
yeah, yeah, and I mean, and even looking at, like, with Xbox and Halo, because of course Halo was that flagship, and when they were coming out with the Series X, I know there were people like just kind of just really disappointed that they had to delay it, because they're like, man, you're not even gonna have a Halo game at launch for this, and that's your flagship. And I guess that kind of gets back to the whole, I don't really want to use the word hindrance no more, but it kind of gets back to that whole limited scope of what their ambition is. what they're gonna do with the system. And like kids just said, the Game Pass thing was a very strong component of what they were trying to push, or what they are trying to push.
Yeah.
So if they try to put all their eggs in one basket with Halo and try to focus all their efforts on that to knock it out, it's like I just really think that would be severely limited. Because then even back when I looked at Xbox first coming out and Halo was the big thing, it was a great game. Don't get me wrong, but I know that when I worked at GameStop, a lot of people would come in and just be like, I mean, that's cool and all, but what else? Do you have any other recommendations? And I honestly couldn't come up with anything. I was like, I don't know. I don't. I mean, give them some time. I mean, give them some time. I'm sure they'll come. I mean, this is, to be fair, this is early Xbox release. Like this is when they had just that, and I think like Kabuki Warriors or something. So, I was just like, unless you want to play that, I mean, good luck with it. But like
It might.
that's yeah. I mean, that's fine. That's what I mean. There's games for everybody. If there are people who like Kabuki Warriors, but it was just that whole general scope of people who came in fresh off of like maybe playing PS2 and stuff like that were looking for like mini titles, like, hey, because PlayStation's got this, that. What's Xbox got? And it's like Halo. I don't know,
But
man.
see,
Like,
that's where I kind of think that people get it mixed up with what a mascot or a logo represents for companies or sports teams. Like it's not supposed to encompass everything of the company. It's supposed to just be a public front facing entity that you can be recognizable. So when you see it, it makes you think of that company. So I think mascots used to be like a fantasy type character. Back in the day, you had Mario, who's not representing a real person, but representing a very bad stereotype. But at the same time, it was it was
Jeez. Okay.
Nintendo flagship game. That game basically was what everybody wanted to play anytime there was a new release of a console for Nintendo, because the first one was just so that amazing. And with
mhm,
Sega, you had Sonic again. The game was just so that amazing that anytime there's another console release, they kind of consumers are expecting another. I would call it a return of the same greatness, but just on a new platform. Um, so I think that when I think of Mario, think of Sonic. I don't think that's the only idea of games that those companies can actually make. I just feel like they moved from fantasy characters to actual humans, and so the current mascots now are just like celebrities, or even the presidents of the companies became mascots, because it was what Satoru Iwata. I think I may have messed the name up. He became the face of Nintendo for quite some time, to where Mario was almost like a second thought. Like you see Mario, but it's always his face, and he does all the introductions. And it was the same thing with Fizel, Fizame. He
Resume.
became Fizame. Yeah, he became the face. So it's like they still keep the mascots. It's still
mhm.
something that they use for branding purposes. But now today's terms or today's markets is more about the human experience, the human interactions. They rather see their company being represented by a human, if it's for a game or for the company itself, and more than just a fantasy character that may not fit in with today's kids and today's idea of what's cool or what's not cool.
I would say
Okay.
you do have a point when it comes to the people because yeah, I know like for me and some of my friends, anytime Reggie or Phil Spencer or any of them kind of
There we
takes
go,
the
Phil.
stage,
Yeah,
I get hyped because I'm like, oh snap, that's Reggie. What you
yeah,
got? What you got? Like
Right.
they just because they have that passion and drive and under their leadership we've gotten some pretty good things to come out from both companies and everything. So it's a good point that they kind of and maybe it was not even by on purpose, but having these figureheads at the companies ended up kind of being the mascots that really represent the company, which I guess is what a good boss should do anyway.
yeah. Be relatable, because right now, the biggest relatable mascot is Elon Musk. Like technically, he is a mascot for Tesla, and he's also the owner. So it's kind of, yeah, it's more now the way companies are doing things is how they can make their company relate with the public. So it's personality, it's charisma. Even currently, a president is considered a mascot for a country. Like that's our thinking these days. So yeah,
I would have never thought to put Elon Musk and the mascot in the same sentence, but
I
here we are.
mean, the dude blew up after he did Joe Rogan and apparently smoked something, I think. But it's like
Did did.
Yeah. Not saying that was right or wrong what you said. I was just it just never that's just one of the things that never crossed my mind ever. Like, oh,
uh
okay. So like he's now I can't unsee him being like this weird mascot.
yeah, he wears the uniform. Like he wears the same type of blazer shirt thing, jeans, and no tie. Like he has his signature look, and that's how
Hmm.
most of our current human mascots are. They have a signature look.
Hmm.
Human
Okay.
mascots. Say it that way. Say it that
It
way.
is really weird, man, but
Yep, that's my brain, man. That's my brain.
all right, man, it's all good. It's all good. So, but yeah, I mean, I don't know. I don't really have. I mean, kid, you got anything else to add, man? Because I don't. I mean, I think we kind of covered that pretty well with our perspectives.
Yeah, yeah, I think that's pretty much pretty good.
Yeah, it's like I keep forgetting. It's
Yeah.
like it's like it's something to keep nagging me. Like I forgot there was like another point to make about it, but no, I think I'm good. I think
But
I'm good.
let's let our listeners fill in what we may have left out, so they can
Yeah,
definitely
definitely,
at
man.
the end of the show you give them all the links so where they can go to leave their comments they love for our show.
Definitely, definitely. Yeah, I might have to pose that question too. So be on the lookout for that poll.
Cool, cool.
So
Okay. So the next thing that was in the news very recently was Valorant, the one of the biggest games right now, Valorant. Apparently, starting middle of July, they will now be listening to voice chat.
Oh, so they
You're
became the NSA. Okay, cool.
Pretty much, yeah. And of course, they're saying, it's to protect everybody. And so that, if you report somebody, they could go back and look at it and then have, the audio recording of the actual things that were said and can make, judgment calls based off that.
mhm,
And, we don't necessarily have us to specifically talk about Valorant, but I just kind of wanted to talk about that with y'all because it's kind of scary that more companies are doing this. First we had PlayStation a couple months ago come out and say that, hey, yeah, we're listening to your party conversations, and now we got Valorant just saying, listen, all voice chat in the game we're listening to. Like,
mhm,
I don't know, man. I don't know about y'all, but it's tough because it's like on one hand you want a more safe and secure environment. You want people to feel protected and have recourse if somebody does say something offensive, or, racist, mean, or anything like that. But like on the other hand, it's like I don't want just people just listening in all the time. Not to say they're going to
mhm.
listen, not to say somebody's sitting there watching and paying attention to what you're saying, but it's just I don't know where does it end? You know what I mean?
I mean,
Yeah.
you live
Well, I was gonna.
in oh, I'm
Mhm.
sorry.
No, no, go ahead.
Oh, I was just saying that we live in the world today where every device we have in the house, from Alexa to our cell phones, to our
Yeah.
computers, to our TVs, to our remote controls, to even the refrigerator is listening to us. So it's like,
Mhm,
is it really a stretch of the imagination that at some point time they would technology and use it towards good in the sense where it can monitor when there's inappropriate conversations or words of violence being expressed in a game where it can hurt children or underage people? Because as adults we may not want it, but at the same time we're not the only ones playing these games. There's kids on these games that we need to protect the same way we have to protect them in the world. So I think this is a good step. I just think that people need to be aware that they should have options for their privacy if they want to opt in or opt out to the listing. And the opting
mhm.
out option is not being offered. And that's the part that bothers me.
Gotcha,
Yeah.
gotcha. So let me ask, is it gonna be I mean, did they mention whether it's gonna be more of a reactive approach they're taking to it or a proactive approach? And what I mean by that is like, is it just gonna be primarily on, having the recording and if somebody reports, some kind of disruptive behavior, then that's when they'll take a look or review the audio or the recordings, or are they gonna just be surveilling it themselves? I mean, I would imagine it'd be kind of difficult for them to do that given the
Yeah.
amount of players on there, but I was just kind of curious.
I think basically what they kind of say, right now it's they're kind of having an AI kind of help listen, and I think it is based off of the reporting system.
Okay.
Um, and so, but the AI is there to help kind of learn and get better at detecting things and to grow smarter, basically.
Yeah,
Gotcha,
because
gotcha.
pretty
Okay.
soon it's just knock on your door. Be like, listen, I heard what you said. It's just
Hmm.
gonna be one of those tester robot bodies that is in. It's gonna be free. I'm not gonna say Skynet is gonna happen because of video games, but Skynet may happen because of video games. Just saying.
I know,
Just
right?
don't
Anytime
put
AI is
AI.
mentioned.
Yeah, though AI is already learning from us on everything we typed online. Imagine how it would learn from just listening to our conversations. Like it's gonna get pretty hairy.
Turn
Yeah.
into Ultron, huh?
So it
Who
looks like
knows?
oh god. It looks like they said that they're not going to start, assessing reports just yet from the
Hmm.
recording, but they do expect to get the information, for beta to then have this kind of roll out later in the year. So it's not
Gotcha.
happening, the actual them using it to look at reports isn't happening just yet, but they will start listening on July 13th. So very
It's
Okay,
soon.
interesting.
It's just weird to
So,
me
Um
that with that technology, they don't just have it where the AI listen to keywords, and in those keywords, it can already report the person because
yeah.
mhm,
it's easier that way than waiting for someone to then report that person and be like, hey, like if you are going to opt into having yourself monitored while in a game, you would think the monitoring would be a little bit more, I guess, streamlined to where you don't have to report someone. It's just they're the monitors. It's listening anyway. It should report from keywords.
mhm.
I mean, that's just me thinking. I don't know.
And
No, that's cool.
you guys might not know this, but when Valorant first came out, it had like a little bit of a controversy, I guess you could say, because I can't remember what the actual software is called, but it came packaged with this software that collects a lot of data on your PC,
Oh
and
yeah.
it's required to be on there, and it has to be running uh to play the game. And if like you can't just like restart it, you have to restart your entire computer
Hmm.
if you close that program out and wanted to play Valorant, you have to restart your
Wow.
computer. So a lot of people were really upset, myself included. I was like, geez, you gotta like, because I can't remember exactly what all it collects, but I know it collected a lot of information about you and your computer, and I was like, yo, what?
That's
So
like TikTok. Like people don't
yeah, yeah,
realize. Well, not even TikTok. But most all these apps, they are doing more than just letting you view people's, posts. It's basically collecting your data the whole time that you're using it. So yeah, it
Yeah.
makes sense that all these companies are finding new revenues of the new avenues of revenue where they can just make money off of selling our information because that's ultimately what they're collecting all this for. They're trying to
yeah.
create profiles for each of us. So how can we target you with more stuff to buy? Or how can we add
Mhm.
more specialized ads to your browser? Or how can we basically understand what you need before you know you need it so we can sell you more things before you know you need to buy those things. So
Yeah. I'm
yeah.
glad you brought that up because that's kind of like what my concern would be about it. Like it's hard for me to really kind of develop a stance on it without really knowing more. I mean, I'm more inclined to believe what to fall into what you're saying more about them just trying to collect data, just find other ways of making profit or revenue. But the part of the challenge I was thinking about is just, I guess, the idea of what the intent is behind them doing it, and how far reaching could it become. So, like for example, let's say if they have those recordings, and then you get a person who reports you for whatever kind of behavior that they're accusing you of, but none of that happened, and they review the recording and they end up getting some other information that's maybe incriminating. Like what do they do with that information? Are they
Oh
limited by
yeah.
what they can do, or like do they specifically say in the terms and conditions that anything else beyond the gaming realm or the session that you're doing isn't really admissible for us? Which I would imagine it would be anyway. I think there would be some challenges to like the regarding the Fourth Amendment, but I'm not a legal scholar or anything like that. But I'm just kind of curious as to, what that could mean. Maybe could they pass that information on to certain people, certain authorities, and just say, hey, look, you want to, put this person under surveillance more, or check into this person because some things were mentioned in the background, that we could possibly take as some threats against whoever, but it really wasn't that. It was like, maybe some kind of misunderstanding. So I'm just kind of wondering about that. And then the other thing that I see challenging is what could be really deemed as abusive or disruptive, behaviors. Like you get some people who, I mean, there are clear indications of what can be abusive and just flat out toxic and cruel and all that stuff, right? But there are other aspects where some people may take something that somebody said at really personal, you know what I mean? But it be something that wasn't really that bad, for in the view of everybody else, like, oh, it's a little bit of trash talk, where it's a competition game, right? But not everybody kind of has that same viewpoint
Yeah,
of what
you
is
can you
like,
can abuse it. You can abuse the system just to report
Oh
people
yeah.
just because you don't
right.
like them because they're better than you,
Yeah.
or
Yeah. 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 It's like, just because it could be a simple matter of somebody like, hey, I got you, haha. And then it's like, next thing you know, they report it, for toxic behavior. And it's just like, oh, word? Like, I just got caught up in the competition of it. Like, you know what I mean? Like, he wasn't really necessarily like out of ill intent. So, but that's always kind of been the thing I always kind of wondered about, because people have different kind of interpretations of what's disrespectful and what's not. So,
Hmm,
yeah, I
that
don't
is
know.
true.
It's very challenging. Like I don't know. That's why like whenever they mention things like that, like I know, well, to try to put this in an optimistic fashion. I mean, I know that they're trying to do something to curb the amount of toxicity and just flat out cruelty to it and all that. But was
Yeah.
that?
I was just said toxic nature.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, I was struggling there. I appreciate it. But no, like, yeah, in that regard, so I understand that you would want to curve it because, like, Star, like you said, there were, of course, kids playing and, just more vulnerable people mentally that gets exposed to that. And, God forbid, want to do something that is really drastic that they, that'd be very unfortunate.
Yeah, but
But
God forbid if we have a kid getting exposed to any type of trash talk online. We don't want a kid going through that. I get that.
Oh, I am the trash talker.
see, that's I'm about to say, yeah, he definitely. I've
Dude.
seen that. I mean, I've heard that firsthand. Like he's not lying. He's one of those. So, but anyway, but that gets to my point. You get caught up in that competitive nature, and that's just who you are. And I mean, and even kid, like he doesn't. He never goes as far as threatening nobody's lives. Like, I'll come find you and kill you because you killed me in Call of Duty. It's not like that, but it might get heated. So then it's like, what happens then? Did they review some of the words and think, oh, you know what? Yeah, this person had every right to complain, and now we're banning him. It's like,
Yeah.
so I don't know.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's
Like I said, that's just my fear, man. It's just like how far can it go, and like is it going to be in every aspect of every game? And it's just like I get that you want to protect people, and I'm all
Hmm.
for that, and any ways to kind of eliminate that toxicity, especially in competitive games such as like Valorant. Like, yeah, we got to find ways to do that.
Mm.
Something I just thought about like on the fly is, hey, maybe don't record everything all the time, but maybe if you report somebody, maybe go back and record the last 30 seconds that
yeah.
that were said or something like that. Maybe maybe the match is recorded, but it deletes at the end of the match if no reports made. But if it does, it'll specifically record those 30 seconds or minute or however long they deem necessary. Because I just feel like just always recording, man. It's just like because what about games and lobbies where you're not being toxic, you're just playing around with people. You know what I mean? And it's just like
Hmm.
what happens if you say the wrong thing that even though everybody in the lobby was okay with it and it was just a joke that everybody understood, the system,
Hmm.
the AI didn't recognize that and still bans you or reports you or you still get in trouble somehow, you know?
But here's
Yeah,
the slippery slope that I can imagine happening because you can always turn to Hollywood just to get an idea of what the future might be. There was this great movie called Demolition Man. If anybody's seen this movie,
oh, I
then you
love
know
that
what I'm
movie.
about to,
Yeah,
yeah, you know what I'm about to go to. If
I
you
love that
say
movie, man.
any foul word at anywhere, you could be standing in the middle of the street, just mind your business and stump your toe and just say the F word. There's a machine that's listening to everything you're saying. It will give you a citation.
Oh yeah, I remember that. Yeah, it was wild. That was
Yeah,
wild.
and it's like it's weird to see that in a movie that was made back in what the 90s
I
that
want to say.
predicts. Hmm?
Mhm. No, I said no. I was going to agree with you. I want to say yeah. I think it was
Yeah,
was it later '90s? I want to say
probably
maybe
later
not so
90s.
late.
Yeah, it predicted things that we today are currently talking about as reality that we would never imagine it being real. We just saw it in a movie. That's fantasy. No, we're actually now trying to figure out if we should get punished for having the freedom to speak, even though it may not be appropriate to some people. But why should we get punished? It's freedom of speech.
Mhm.
So it's interesting. I do want to protect the children. I think that kids should not be, exposed to certain things like that. But at the same
Yeah.
time, the game itself is one of those type of things like in life. If you step into this game, like you step outside your door, you don't have full control over what might happen. So, but you
Yeah.
still have, you still have the right to call the police if you need to. So it's
Yes.
it's a weird checks and balance. Like who's gonna check them for their balance is my question.
Yeah, I mean, it's always been kind of
Good
the
one.
tough thing of life, yeah. So it's just hard to because there's so many different circumstances. There's always different variables involved in everything. So it's just really hard to just because a lot of people what they want to do is just make things black or white and not really pay too much mind to the gray area because it's too
Mhm.
complicated and stuff to think about. So they rather just kind of label it as oh yeah this is bad. Nobody should be able to talk trash versus people who are like no we should be able to say what we want. Just develop a stronger mindset
Yeah,
to
thick
not fall
skin.
victim to it. You
Yeah.
know what I mean? Yeah. So it's like, that's why it's always going to be like a tough thing to really go over. But yeah, they're kind of, I don't know. I don't know. I have to kind of see how it would turn out and what people are saying, because I don't, well, I guess one thing I want to ask is do we see it being something that's going to make people want to stop messing with the game? Or do we, like everything else, see that gamers will just kind of go along with it and say, whatever, like, what do we think?
Hmm. Yeah, I think that if enough people end up complaining about it and the game start losing users, they may revisit their idea behind the monitoring. But for right now, this is just testing. They want to see how far they can go, just like our own government. We just want to see how far we can go with collapsing some of your freedoms and privacy. If we can't go too far, we stop for about good 5 years and we start again.
It's honestly been the gaming. That's been the model for gaming companies, man. Like honestly, like throw ads in there. Oh, it's too much. Okay, we'll take it. We'll take it out a little bit and then
Yeah,
try again in a couple years. So yeah, that's
we
kind of been the
try again.
playbook. That's kind of been the playbook. So you're not. I don't think you're too wrong about that. What
Mhm.
about you, kid? What you think? You think it's something that's going to drive people away, or eventually people going to get used to it?
Honestly, I doubt it. That game is so popular and one of the biggest games right now in the world. Will it piss people off? Yeah, but just like when it first came out and it was came out that they had this program in there, this software in there that you have to is installed with the game that tracks and logs all this information. People still downloaded and played it.
Mhm.
Heck, even I downloaded it at one point in time. It's still on my computer actually. So I don't, for the most part, I don't think people will stop playing it. I'm just worried about where we're going in the future, not just specific Valorant, but just other games in general, man. And
Generally,
how
yeah.
how far does it go? Because like Star was saying earlier, you got the AI and it listens, and you just say that one word, and then boom, you're out of the game. And it's like, wait, what? I mean,
And your credit score drops. Like, huh? What happened?
yeah, you know, BP,
Nice touch.
I don't think I need to remind you all of the frustration I had dealing with the auto ban system in Rainbow Six Siege, and I was getting
Oh,
banned for no
I
reason.
remember that now. Yeah, actually, yeah,
Oh
that was
man,
wild, man. Yeah, you went through
yeah,
it.
yeah. So yeah, I see it now. Especially as you start to get into more AI and like the robot system uh dictating, overseeing this and banning and unbanning people and everything. It's just oh man, but no, I think people will still play it.
At the end of the day, yeah, got
Yeah.
you.
we, we
What's
made
about
that
some of you?
analogy. You remember we say how after 9/11, people weren't expecting to be, having their privacy, what's the
Like
word
the
I'm looking
TSA
for?
going through their things and everything.
Exactly, with the airlines
Hmm.
and everything. But yet, over time, people just accepted it. So I think that's just how our society is. We might have a little bit of a group that does a little bit of a pushback, but then the numbers isn't great enough to make change because everyone
Right,
else is saying, "Hey, we need this. Shut up."
right. Yeah,
So,
I
so
know.
yeah.
Yeah.
So, and here's my take on it. I think everything in moderation. Like, yes, we might need some type of monitoring for bullying online because
Mm,
people are committing suicides or becoming very severely depressed from the interactions. People should be held accountable. but I don't think it should become a world where everybody can just report on everybody else in a game. It's just a game. Some people
Yeah.
may not need to be in that game if they don't have, the thick skin to be able to take it, because it's a horrible world, and you can't just take away the horror. Like it's just is what it is.
Yeah.
What you think, BP?
I'm kind of on the lines of you where it's like, people probably complain about it and, you hit the forums and Reddit and then like eventually
Yeah.
just kind of fall into it and say, you know what I mean? Because it's like, I
Yeah.
guess, and it's not, and then, not to, because I make it sound like, people have no fight in them. And it's like, nah, it's just more of the fact that it's like, at the end of the day, it's like, I could just stop playing it or I can just keep going along and, just accept the fact that kind of like what Star said earlier, that, chances are all these devices we got, we're being listened to anyway. So it's like,
Yes.
what can you do? So I think at the end of the day, you're right. I think people are just going to say, you know what, just whatever, just do what you will. Now, it would be curious to see if it ever will get to a point where people will say, all right, enough's enough. All right, this is getting kind of crazy. And I guess that would kind of depend on how it's implemented, like how further future companies or other companies start doing the same thing, or if they go even more hard on the idea of doing it, and it just gets a little too way too invasive or too extreme, then there's a chance of that happening where people will stand up and say, nah, that's too much. But yeah, at this point, probably not.
And I also
Yeah.
have my other concerns that they start monitoring and recording and listening to our conversations. Is this database that's storing this information, is it being secured enough to where no one can hack it and take that information and use it against people that may have been recorded? Because it's data mining is huge, and people are always trying to find ways of hacking and taking that information and using it in some ways that's probably not legal. But at the
Hmm.
same time, they can use it to blackmail people or threaten their jobs, threaten their livelihoods with data that they discovered because their information was recorded. So
Yeah,
how is this stuff being protected? Like this, it's a lot of things that can just go wrong if it happens.
that's true. That's true. Yeah, because things systems can get compromised,
Yep.
because we are human at the end of the day. So
Yep.
Oh, we are.
Not all of us,
AI
but most
isn't.
of us. Yeah.
Whoa.
all
All
right.
right.
Yeah. Moving
Deep,
on. Moving on.
man.
Like Elon Musk, for example, right? He's actually you talk about him
Wow.
being a mascot. Like,
I mean, he's making android bodies, so who knows if the Elon that we see on TV is the actual real one? The real one could be just laying in the house sleeping. You know,
I mean, he certainly
R.
has the money to put. What's that?
I was gonna say R and Mars right now.
There you go.
he got the money for it.
Sure, he got a lot of money, but that's a whole nother.
Oh my goodness. But yeah, I mean, we'll definitely see, and hopefully, keep a close eye on it, and hopefully they do it as respectfully as possible. I'll say.
Yeah, only time
We
will
shall
tell.
see. We shall see.
We shall see. Speaking of that, I think the Outriders expansion came out today.
Oh, it did.
Ah,
Are we ever gonna look back into the kid?
I'm interested in it. However, my homeboy
Okay.
did text me and he said somebody gave it like a 5 out of 10. So it's like,
Oh,
dang.
uh-oh. All right. Well, that means I'm gonna have to hit YouTube and see what the consensus has been lately.
Yeah, I'll have to check it out, kind of see what people are saying about it, and you kind of see what happens. Hopefully, maybe it'll be on either Game Pass or PlayStation Plus Extra or whatever.
I doubt that, but
Ideally,
one good dream.
yeah, because I don't know if you guys heard, but apparently, it hasn't made like all of the royalties back or the money back from Square Enix. So Square Enix hasn't paid them any royalties or anything or something like that.
Mm,
So I'm just
gotcha.
kind of like, oof. So yeah, it probably might not go on streaming because they
mm-mm.
need that money.
Not for the foreseeable future. I can see. I can imagine.
Unfortunately, but hey, new expansion.
Yeah. So,
All right, okay, all right. Well, what y'all think? That's enough, or you want to do the other
What
one, or
what time is it now?
what
Oh
was the other
no,
one
it
actually? Now
is.
that I think about it, well, it was about the demo, real quick, right?
He said, "Oh
Oh,
no."
Right?
man,
Heard
I
him say
say,
that, right?
you
He
gotta
was like,
see what
man.
time it is.
Yeah. I mean, if it ain't gonna take like a few minutes though,
Is
it's
it?
real quick.
Is it?
I think so.
Yeah,
I think so. I
okay.
don't know.
Okay.
Don't
There's
maybe
that
don't maybe
enthusiasm.
I'm about to say don't have me bully you into it. I just thought it would be something real quick because I honestly don't really have a lot to. I don't think I have a lot to really say about it other than I think it's gonna be straightforward for what me and you have to probably say about it
All
versus
right.
maybe what Kid will say.
You get 5 minutes from me. I'm gonna have to drop off after that.
All right.
All
All
right, I'll make
right.
this quick then.
Ladies and
Basically,
gentlemen, I'm gonna put it on the timer right now.
oh
Just kidding.
god.
Go ahead.
Basically, it was announced that Final Fantasy 16 at some point in time should be getting a demo. And so it just kind of raised that question to me is like, huh, why don't more games have demos? And I definitely I miss the days of demos and being able to download and play different demos. And a lot of games would have them, and it's few and far between these days. I mean,
hmm
most games just don't have them. Funny enough, Final Fantasy 14, I'm not 14, 15 had a demo as well right before that came out.
hmm
And so it's just interesting that developers and publishers don't put this out again, and I think they probably don't do it because they are afraid it could hurt them more in the long run than help them, especially as you see more games kinda get rushed out the door and with the mentality of, "Hey, we'll fix it later,"
hmm
so the demo would probably be as broken as the game is, and so they think, "Hey, we put that demo out, people ain't going to buy the game," but I'll say this, I wish demos would come back.
They
Yeah.
they never really left. I mean, I've seen demos, for certain games, but like I don't
hmm
remember. I don't remember in my time playing games where every game had a demo. There's always been a certain number of games, and I think
hmm
today we still got the same type of number or percentage of games get demos. But I think people don't really hear much about the demos because demos don't get as advertised as they used to. You just see something show up that says demo, and he's like, okay, let me just download this. But you don't really hear too much about when a demo is available. It's just out there.
I mean, I think honestly, demos back then were more. I think I want to say at least a little more prevalent back then. Because the idea was just to get people into the idea of getting the game or being hyped for the game, as opposed to nowadays where it's just more of a money scheme of
Oh
early
yeah.
access and betas and oh yeah, get this if you do this beta thing, you can get this weapon when the game releases and stuff. So it's more of a scheme to kind of just get you into the game.
Pre-order.
Yeah, exactly. So, I mean, and plus, I think with the demos, back then, I think they were arguably, in my opinion, they were more polished than you would than what you would have with the alpha and beta. Which obviously, I know the whole point of alpha and beta and builds and stuff like that. But I'm just saying that when the focus was on demos back in the days, to kind of just sell you on the idea of how much of a fun experience you're going to have with the coming game, it was just kind of rooted in that as opposed to like these betas where it's like, hey, let's build up this specific group of hype people that we can monetize to hell and back. Um, with this early access jargon and this, oh, hey, play this beta and you get access to this part of the game or item and the exclusive item in the game. You know what I mean? Like kind of that FOMO
I just thought about
mentality.
it. I think I know why demos died away. It just came to me just before the last minute before I had to jump off. So what happened was,
Nice.
Sorry. Go ahead. I couldn't keep that in.
you had Blockbusters, you had Hollywood Videos, you had any of those rental stores that you didn't really need demos back then because you can go and rent the game, and if you like the game, then you would buy it. If you didn't want to buy the game, basically you had those rental companies offer you a very low entry price for the game to be able to experience it. To even though if you want to spend the full amount of money or not. So I think demos probably went away because rental companies were offering the games for lesser than the price of the game itself.
Interesting.
Not everyone speak at the same time here. I mean, it's just
Well,
this
no,
is
'cause I'm
just a
thinking
preference.
about it. Well, no, because I'm thinking what you said. I'm trying to take it in. Because I mean, I'm trying to think back to when were the rental companies really prevalent? Because Blockbuster died off. Like, when was that
2000,
when they died off? Like early
2000.
2000s. So I'm just wondering. And then you had, of course, Family Video, which that was only in certain select areas. But I don't know. I guess I'm trying to see that because you definitely did have that as an option, and I can kind of see where maybe some game companies would look at, well, what was the point? Because you can get the game rented, but I don't know. It's not always the same, because at least when the places I've went to, the movie rental places that had the video game rentals, that wasn't necessarily a situation where they were going to carry every single game. Like there was always going to be a few select games, and mainly more towards AAA titles. So I don't know. I mean, it's a possibility. I don't know. It's hard for me to say if that's the case. I just feel like it's more about them just finding ways to say, hey, how can we give less and take more?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I think that's how I
Yeah.
kind of see how Dissolve was just more of that mentality of, hey, how much can we milk them?
Yeah.
Without giving much in return. So yeah, I don't know. There could be a surge though for it coming back with PlayStation Plus. Was it Premium that does the demos, or was
Yeah.
it or
Trials.
both?
The game trials.
Yeah.
It's the
So I don't
free.
know. Yes, I don't know. But then again, I think the game trials would be when the game it released, right? I mean, that's kind of a difference than, well, no, because the demo it wasn't.
Typically
It,
before.
yeah, because I mean, the demo wasn't limited to just like before games released, right? I mean, they were also demos that existed when the game came out as well. So,
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, you could get
so
to
That's
play
a
the
good.
first 5 minutes of the story, or you get to play only certain characters before you can unlock more by buying the full game. Like they have different types of tiers of demos for certain games.
yeah, so
It's a
okay,
good point, BP. The whole, PlayStation Premium trials, it's not one to what, kind of demos were, but I think it is, you know, definitely a step in the right direction because it does give you a chance to kind of test out that game and really get a
Mhm.
feel for it and everything. I kind of wish it was behind that premium paywall.
Yeah.
yeah. And another thing I thought of with the demos, potentially that, because with the developers going through so much crunch as it is, with churning some of these games out, and the pressures that they feel on meeting the deadlines, like, does it really leave a lot of room for demos? I started thinking about, and not only that, but maybe some of them, the developers had this mindset of doing a demo because after all, they have to have something to present to like the management, in testers, QA test. I think they call them QA testers, right? Yeah.
Yeah.
So you had something to present to them. So I mean, I don't think it's too far fetched for them to have maybe some, you know, uh, I don't say bills, but have some demos out there that they could very easily say, hey, we can release this to the public, see what they think, and maybe the management's like, nah, it's
Mm.
like, nah, that's gonna take away your size. I need to focus more on getting this game churned out in the next month and worry about putting out demos or something like that. So I don't know.
Yeah. It's definitely a different environment.
Yeah, because I mean, back then, the games, not to say that it was easy to program really back then, but compared to now, I could certainly say that there was probably a lot less involved in the game creation than it is nowadays, because you have so many different elements that we have currently,
Yeah. It's just getting bigger
or
and
in this
bigger.
generation. Yeah, exactly. There's so many different mechanics and elements that go into games versus like, just making Mario jump off some blocks. So
Mario
Yeah.
jump. Nice.
I mean, no disrespect, no disrespect, but I'm just saying, just compared to nowadays, it's like, no, it's
Well,
a whole lot more going on.
I think Star is ready to jump into bed.
No, 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 no. Jump into a game, then bet. But yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
Nice.
So
Nice.
you already ate, man. I mean,
No, I will be eating while playing, so it's gonna be me on mute on the mic, but I'll be there.
awesome, awesome. Okay. All right. Well, yeah, I guess that's it. Kid, do you think that's good to wrap up, man? Get this man something to eat and get him into Overwatch.
I wish he was getting to something better, but yeah, let's get him to
Oh,
bed and
You
into
take what you can
Overwatch.
get with him, like.
whoa.
I wish we could be getting into some Tiny Tinas.
Hey,
But
I just want this conversation reported just now because I felt like I was bullied.
oh man, see what I mean? You see what I mean?
Oh man.
Jeez,
Oh
man.
man. He's already banking on it.
Oh yeah.
Uh, well, thank you
So,
guys for listening to us as always.
oh yeah, yeah. Thank you so much. Again, as usual, I'll put there all the information to contact us in the show notes. Let us know your thoughts on what we covered.
Wait, did you say
Probably
show
gonna,
nuts or show notes?
well,
Oh,
hopefully I said show notes. sir.
Took notes. He definitely took notes.
Yeah, it's
just
I don't
definitely
know
time for you to
what's
sign
on
off.
your mind.
Exactly, man. Good God, man. Last episode and now this one. Awesome.
Wait, why do you took it that way? I was talking
Hey,
about
man, I don't know,
peanuts.
man.
What y'all mean?
Ah,
I
is that
just
what we're okay? You really doing that?
Okay.
Because you know because the sound, your tone of your voice, man. That just that escalated higher than it was just if it was just about peanuts. You know what I mean? Like I don't know.
You just blew my cover, but I was trying to pretend that. Yeah. Anyways, yes, everybody is nice, hearing from us, I guess, and we'll be back next week and stay safe.
Alrighty.
Let's get it.
Yep. Peace out.